himself in. Oh, and every day he doesn't, people will die. Starting tonight. I'm a man of my word. Your brother's soul is mine.
Hey, dreadlocks. Where the bomb buck that on?
Harry tells me you're quite the science whiz. You know.
We had to go. Nobody can tell.
So you did it while you were putting your clothes back on, dear.
Your brother's soul.
Almost like how mostly put it in my pocket.
Shut up! Isn't even your pocket, is it, son?
What's up? It's your boy Star Verasis, and welcome to a new episode of Star Explained. Now, this is one of the movies that people kind of like review bomb the hell out of. Like, everybody was talking mad mess about this movie, saying it wasn't good. Hold up. I ain't never going back to bro. I see bands, I saw hope. That's my shit. Okay, all right, my bad. Every time I hear this beat, that song is there. Anyway, and before I get too deep into this, first of all, thank you for clicking on my video. Thank you for commenting, and thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. And again, I will always be that person who always thanks you for clicking on my video, even my haters. This movie, I feel like it got review bombed before it really even was given a chance. And then people put like, they seen Jordan Peele's name and they're like, oh man, Jordan Peele put out some shit. Jordan Peele produced the movie. He didn't direct the movie. So there's a difference with that. However, it wasn't that bad. That's why I kind of picked it to explain. I did this one for my homeboys, man. Shout out to my homeboys. I did this one for them. They ain't seen the movie. So, you know what I'm saying? I was like, why not? Why not explain him? You know what I'm saying? I'll explain fucking him to the boys one time. And they love it because all we do is talk about football shit. That's like, all we talk about is like football. So, this one's for the boys. And yeah, let's get into it. So, him was directed by Justin Tripping. Justin Tripping, he did another movie called Kicks. Let me see. Swimming, Lowriders. He really did like nothing really noteworthy. I feel like this might be his like biggest movie. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to throw salt. I mean, not trying to, you know what I'm saying, throw dirt on him or nothing like that. But you know, this might be his biggest movie. And he also did some episodes of The Chi, which, man, fuck The Chi. Y'all already know how I feel about The Chi. Y'all know how I feel about it. So I'm not even gonna get into it too heavy. Anyway, this movie also stars Tyreek Witters and Marlon Wayans, man. Shout out to Marlon Wayans. He is one of the original funny guys. Marlon Wayans is one of the people who was funniest in my childhood. So shout out to Marlon Wayans. I used to remember watching goddamn the Wayans Brothers show on Saturday afternoons and shit. When you in the house, you ain't got nothing else better to do, turn on the Wayans Brothers, man. It was on. So shout out to Marlon Wayans. But okay, that's it. Let's get into this shit. So this is a Universal monkey paw joint, which when I was looking at the Universal thing, I was like, man, fucking Comcast. Like, all these companies is getting swallowed up by larger fucking companies, which is insane to me. But anyway, we're not gonna get into that. So it starts off with a football game, and it's kind of like zooming in, and it's like the San Antonio Saviors versus the Atlanta Masons. So it's like their little Super Bowl, whatever. So they got like jets and shit flying over, and we see this little kid. He's sitting in front of the TV and he's watching the game, and his dad's there. And it's showing like how dedicated his family is to the team. They like light candles and shit, which I ain't gonna lie. I lit a candle for the Ravens last year, and them high price hookers let me down again. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Lamar, you have to right the ship. Please right the ship. Anyway, like they got like a little shrine set up with like all their little football trophies, and they got like different memorabilia and shit up there. So we see Marlon Wayans' character is named Isaiah White. He's a quarterback, and he has some pretty decent stats. You know what I'm saying? He looking like Lamar from last year. He got 44 tutties, 7 interceptions. You know what I'm saying? He threw for like 4,000 yards. That boy got a 73 completion percentage. Like, he out here getting it done. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it takes to get in the bowl, apparently. But you know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna talk about it too much. Anyway, it's currently the fourth quarter. It's 5 seconds to go, and it's 4th and 6. Isaiah's team is currently losing 34-29, but they hoping they can bring them back. So while the son is watching the football game, the dad walks up behind him and he hands him a football. And he's like, you ready? And he's like, yeah, Well, he doesn't say yeah, but he starts nodding and shit. He's like into the game, you know what I'm saying? He's locked in. And he's like, remember, hold on to the laces, all right? And he's nodding and stuff, but he hasn't taken his eyes off of the game. So his family's watching the game, and it's like it's 4th and 6. And they're like, yo, this is the last play. They got like 6 seconds. Let's see if Isaiah can get it done. So the family is like, yeah, come on, Isaiah. And Isaiah, at the last second, he throws a tutty and they win. So, you know what I'm saying? They all happy and they jumping around, they hugging. They're like, yo, we won. We can't believe it. We won. But then the newscasters, they're like, hold on. We got a man down. Here. And they like kind of showing, and they say, he's like, it's Isaiah White. He's down. And you can kind of see Isaiah White. He's laying there. His leg is all busted open. His bone is literally protruding out. Like, I don't know if y'all seen, you know what I'm saying, what happened to Alex Smith when he played for Washington way back, but it looked kind of like that. Like, ain't no coming back from that. And the newscasters, they like, oh man, this does not look good. And Marlon Wayans, he fucking sit up, and it's kind of like his shaking his leg and shit. But it's a serious moment, but that shit was funny as hell. He like sat up and started shaking his leg and shit. And the little boy, which his name is Cam, he's named after his father. His name is Cam Jr. He looks over at his poster of Isaiah White. So then his dad walks over and he kind of like kneels down over him, and he's like turning his head towards the TV. And he's like, you see that, Cam? That's what real men do. They make sacrifices. No guts, no glory. We won because he sacrificed himself. So then his dad puts like his shoulder pads on him, and he's like hyping his son up. He's like, yeah, you up next, right? He's like, yeah, I'm up next. You say, Isaiah, I'm coming. He's like, Isaiah, I'm coming. He's like, I'm next. He's like, you're next. So yeah, he was hyping his son up and shit. And he's like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm him. So then it's kind of going through this montage, and it's like, it's telling basically that Isaiah White, he got healed up, you know what I'm saying? He came back from the injury, and he went on to win 8 rings altogether. So bro is like better than Tom Brady and shit. Like, right? Let's check that. Yeah, so for the movie's sake, you know what I'm saying? They gave him 8 rings. My GOAT, Tom, has 7 rings. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the GOAT. You know, shout out to Mr. Brady. Everybody take a moment of silence for Mr. Brady. Okay, back at it. So he went on to win 8 rings in his career and shit. And this injury happened like 14 years ago. So then it kind of shows him at a celebration after they won another ring. And he's sitting in the locker room and shit. He's having like this Kobe moment. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've seen the iconic photo of Kobe where he was kind of just chilling off by himself holding the fucking championship. He's having a moment like that. And his girl, who is Julia Fox, she comes in there and she's like caressing his cheek and shit. And the news broadcasters are like, man, how many more years does Isaiah White have left in him? We think he might have 1 more year. So then another sportscaster comes on and he's like, I know it's sacrilege to say it, but if you're looking for the next Isaiah White, it's Cameron Cade. And it's showing like the little boy, he grew up and shit, and he was still playing football. And it's showing like all his highlights and shit, how he was like throwing bombs and shit. Bomb. You know what I'm saying? Bro was throwing more bombs than a fucking Unabomber and shit. Anyway, they was hyping him up. He had like a hype video on and shit. He had on the Patrick Mahomes glasses and shit. So then it kind of jumps to this interview where Cam is having, and his mom's there, his brother's there and shit. And the reporter's like, so how does it feel to be back in your hometown? And he's like, oh man, you know, it's whatever, you know, I'm just happy to be home, be around my family, shit like that. And she's like, well, I know your family's excited for you to be doing the combine. That's coming up real soon. How do you feel about it? He's like, oh yeah, man, I'm excited. You know, it's just like my dad said, no guts, no glory. His mom starts to reminisce about, you know what I'm saying, his dad talking about, oh man, I can't wait to see my son. I know he's going to be special. He's going to be a star in football and shit. They're going to be chanting his name. And his brother comes out, yo, why wasn't it me running out the tunnel? His brother like kind of hit with the jealousy a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Which I don't really understand that. I feel like, you know what I'm saying, if I make it, we make it. Because it's not like I'm just going to not look out for you, bro. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, his brother got a bit by the jealousy bug and shit. So the reporter's like, so Cam, if you put a little bit of hard work in what you do you believe that you can be the GOAT one day? And Cam's like, yeah, well, my dad, he always told me that I could be really, really great. So if I lock in and I put a little effort in, yeah, I definitely think I can be the GOAT. So then it transitions to Cam out on the football field, and he's out there by himself. It was one person kind of standing off to the side and shit, but yeah, that's whatever. Anyway, he's out there by himself and shit, and he's kind of just like throwing the ball and shit. He's out here just, you know what I'm saying, putting in that arm strength type shit. We find out that that person that was out there on the field with him was his coach and shit. And his coach is like, hey, Cam, nice to see you back home. Lock up when you done, all right? I'ma bounce. So the coach, he leaves, and he leaves Cam out there on the field by himself and shit. So Cam goes back and he starts, you know, picking up the footballs and throwing it at the goalpost. I guess working on his accuracy and shit. So he smacked the goalpost both times, both sides. I was like, damn, yo, that's pretty fucking dope right there. That boy got a cannon and he accurate. Anyway, he starts walking over to go pick up the footballs after he threw them at the goalpost. And he's kind of staring at the football that's spinning. And I was like, oh shit, is this about to be some Final Destination shit where the goalpost fall and bust his ass in the head? Cause it kind of zoomed in on the goalpost rattling and shit. And I was like, oh shit, that shit finna fall. Yo, it's Final Destination again. But it's still just rattling. And Cam is kind of like looking at the football cause it's still fucking spinning. And anybody who knows, you fucking spin a football on the ground, it's bound to stop spinning. But that shit was spinning abnormally long, like too fucking long. So he's kind of just standing there looking at the football and shit, and he reaches down and he picks it up. As he picks it up, the goalpost stops rattling, and then we see this fucking dude in a goat goddamn costume and shit bust him in his fucking head. Then we get our title sequence. It's like him and shit, but he got like the little staples in his forehead and it's showing like where he got busted in his head at and shit. So then it transitions to Cam in the doctor's office, and the doctor's explaining to his mother that it could take weeks to years for some traumatic brain injuries to heal. I mean, we can't just put a timetable on it. So Cam, he looks over at like the little x-rays and shit. It shows where like his brain is like, his head was like split and shit. And she's like, the doctor's like, I can't recommend that he goes to the combine or he does anything at all as a doctor. And Cam's like, as a football fan, please tell me what you believe. So then it jumps over to the combine. And Cam is going down the escalator. He got his girl with him. He got his brother with him. He got his mother with him. And he has his agent with him. And he's kind of like not feeling it. You could tell on his face, like he's nervous about what happened. But at the same time, he wants to do it because he sees this as a way of getting his family out of their situation. And this movie's so real. I like it when they keep it real like this. Like, look at this shit.
Is it true that you're pulling out of a draft? Yeah, it's true. I'm pulling out of your fucking mom tonight.
I was like, yo. It's true, I'm pulling out of your mom tonight. Oh. All right, anyway. So then it kind of jumps over to the dressing room and he's like, hey, yo, bro, I don't need a cut. And his brother's like, nah, man, I'm gonna get you right for these cameras. No worries. So his brother like pulls out his clippers and shit to start cutting his hair and puts a little cape on him. His teammate comes in there and he's trying to hype him up. He's like, man, show him you Himzel Washington. Show him you Hims Kardashian and shit. Show him you Hims on selling Hims on the side. Show him you ain't no bitch, baby. His homeboy is like trying to amp him up and shit. And it's showing on his phone that his uncle is saying like, good luck, your dad will be watching from above. Good luck today and shit. And then it starts showing like all these different things. It's like from the news network, is Cam Cade a risk? Is Cam Cade healthy? Is Cam Cade ready for this? And while these is popping up, his homeboy is like, yo, it's a party tonight, y'all better be there. And his brother's like, yeah, for sure, we gonna be there. And this whole time, Cam isn't saying anything. He's kind of just like in a daze. Then his agent comes in there and he's like, him Duncan, Timothy Chalamet. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is with this him shit? He's like, yo, is my junkyard dog in there? Is my junkyard dog ready? And Cam is just like still in a daze, like he ain't feeling none of it. His mother looks at him and she's like, Cam, you sure you want to do this? And his brother's like, Mom, yeah, he gonna do it. It's just glorified calisthenics. You know what I'm saying? It's just a quick workout. He go in there and knock it out. He's fine. The whole time his phone is still blowing up from constant tweets and news articles talking about him and shit. And he's just fucking just sitting there in a daze. His girlfriend walks up to him while his mother and brother are still arguing and the agent is trying to calm everybody down. And he's still just in a daze, not paying attention. Then his brother comes back over and starts cutting his hair again and accidentally nips one of his staples in his head. And he fucking gets up. He's like, fuck, shit. And everybody starts yelling at his brother like, what the fuck were you doing? What are you doing? Cam jumps up and he's like, I'm good. I'm good. And like his fucking head is bleeding and shit. And he like wipes it. His eyes is all tearing up and his nose is snotty and shit. He's like, I'm good. Everybody, I'm good. Everybody's kind of looking around at each other. And his mom is like, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, if you're not ready. And he's like, I'm good. I've been doing this my whole life. I've been preparing for this. I'm ready. But then he ends up backing out and not doing it. And because he didn't work out or anything, his agent is out there talking to reporters. And he's like, he's fine. He's took worser hits on the field. There's 4 years worth of tape on him out there already. He's got nothing to prove. He's not going to sit here and run a 40 for cameras and shit. And the news reporter's like, well, we understand that, but why doesn't he come out here and tell us this himself? Why are you out here telling us this? However, something important happens during this press conference. We find out that Cam's agent is also Isaiah White's agent. So he's representing the two main people, you know what I'm saying? And the reporter's like, well, since you represent both of them, is the rumors true that Isaiah White's thinking about retiring? And he says, no, that's tinfoil bullshit. And he gets up and he walks away and shit. And they're like, hey, Tom, come on, man. Let me ask one more question. Then it jumps to Cam and he's standing in the hallway watching everybody else run out to the field, kind of working out. And he hears like a fucking goat sound behind him. And it's like, what the fuck? And he turns around, he looks down this dark hallway. And at first he doesn't see anything. But then he sees this guy come like creeping out of the shadows with a fucking sombrero on and shit. And he's kind of looking at it like, yo, is this shit in my head? And the guy isn't doing nothing but just fucking breathing and shit. Then he takes off his hat and he hands him a felt tip pen. And he like tips it on his head and shit. And Cam, he like, what the fuck? So he reaches out, he grabs the pen and signs the guy fucking forehead. And the guy fucking bass like a sheep and shit, like a goat and shit. I was like, what the fuck, yo, this nigga, yo, fans is fucking crazy, yo. Like, not that I would do some shit like that for Lamar, but yo, what the fuck? Like, fans are crazy, like, for real. So then it jumps over to the party that Cam's teammate said he was having and shit. And Cam, he's just relaxing, you know what I'm saying? He's not in college anymore, so he can kind of smoke weed now. He's drinking, he's just hanging out, just trying to relax himself. And his girl walks up to him and she's like, kind of like holding him and stuff. And she's like, you know, even if you don't make it to the league, I still love you, right? There's more than one way to be great. And it's kind of in one ear and out the other because he was built for this in his mind. You know what I'm saying? His dad set him up for it. He was built for football. So there is no other way, which a lot of athletes, you know what I'm saying? That's what they think. So like as the party goes on and shit, his homeboy walks over and it's like, yeah, man, let me introduce you to my jeweler. You know what I'm saying? You can get any of these jewels you want. They white as the driven fucking South or some shit he said like that. And he's like, yeah, you could put them on your credit. And I was like, yo, ain't nobody trying to put no goddamn jewels on that credit, man. Cam did the right thing. He got his ass up and walked up out of there. His brother came over though and started talking to him as well. His brother, he kind of like tosses his arm around him and he's like, hey man, we can get at it tomorrow. All right. That's just like what dad would have said, right? We'll get at it tomorrow. And Cam, he kind of pushes his brother off of him and shit like, yo, get the fuck off me. And his brother's like, hey, look, you lucky your ass having a bad day or I'll beat the hell out your ass, boy. Like, and that's on some real shit because like my brother pushed me. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of say the same shit to his ass. You lucky you having a bad day. I'm gonna let you go this time. But yeah, anyway. So that shit just kind of pisses Cam off and it works his nerve. So he goes to go out the apartment and shit. As he's leaving, his brother's yelling like, bro. And his girl, she's like, babe. And they trying to like chase after him and shit. So he goes to open the door up. His brother slams the door closed. And he's like, what, man? Damn. He's like, it's your fucking agent. He's like, all right. So Cam goes in the bathroom and he's talking to his agent. And his agent's like, hey man, you never gonna guess what? We got you another shot. You know what I'm saying? I talked to Zay, I talked to the Saviors, and they still want to give you a chance. All you have to do is go down there and train with him for 2 weeks and shit, and then you'll have another chance. You got another shot at this. And Cam, he's like, why me? And his agent's like, yo, between you and me, he's thinking about hanging it up, bro. So you might got a chance. And that's one thing about the way that people keep talking to Cam. They keep saying, yo, what would your dad say? What would your dad say? Like, y'all don't know what his dad would say. Only he would know what his dad would say to him at that point in time. But a lot of people are kind of using the fact that his dad passed away against him. So anyway, Cam, he fucking accepts the shit and he yells out, "We're going to the league." So then it transitions to Cam on the road and they're driving and it looks like they're in the Texas desert. You know what I'm saying? Look a little bit like Arizona. I ain't even gonna front. Like, it's like flat as fuck. But that's one thing about Texas. Texas got a lot of different biomes. Okay, so you know what I'm saying? Your boy, I went to college, you know what I'm saying? Let's use my degree right quick. Let's use my degree. Okay, so over here on East Texas, you know what I'm saying? East Texas has like woody pine trees and stuff like that. Has like forests and stuff, you know what I'm saying? But as you get towards, you know what I'm saying, West Texas, it's like desert and mountains and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? And like around Southern Texas, it's kind of deserty as well, you know? But motherfucking East Texas, that's where like all of like Dallas and shit like that, Fort Worth, stuff like that. That's where that is, you know what I'm saying? And then you have a coastal region as well, because why? Texas is right there on the Gulf of America. So Texas has a lot of bio. And another thing I spotted while they were driving, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're driving in a Rivian, yo. Like, oh, a Rivian, oh, Lord. Yo, if there's a car that I want that Rivian pickup truck. Like, yo, I don't know if Rivian is listening or watching these videos. Like, somebody from Rivian. Yo, send your boy a pickup truck, man. I know it's like $85,000, you know what I'm saying? And I don't make any money from my videos. So, you know, I'm cash poor right now. You know, a little cash poor. You know, my little 9-to-5 ain't giving me enough to afford a Rivian, you know? However, y'all watching, throw the boy a Rivian, you know? I'll shout you out, Rivian. I'll give you a commercial every now and then. Man, Rivian, drive safe, man. that was my little in video commercial like everybody else be doing. So the driver pulls up to Isaiah's driveway and the windows are all tinted and shit like that, so they can't really see who's in there. And the driver's like, yeah, man, usually it's just a few of them, but I guess since he's gonna retire soon, it's a lot more of them out here. And all the people, they like, oh, Isaiah, we love you. Isaiah, oh my gosh, Isaiah's here. Oh my gosh, Isaiah. And Cam's just kind of looking at him. Then just one of them like hits their hands up against the window and the driver's like, oh, there's Marjorie. And she's looking in at him and she's like, no, we don't want you. We don't want you. And then she goes and spits on the glass. And I'm like, oh, that would have been my Rivian, man. She gonna fucking clean it with her fucking hair. She gonna clean that shit all fucking. She gonna wash the whole car, man. We ain't playing these games out here with her. Anyway, the driver's like, yo, his fan club is straight up like a cult for real. But they keep driving and the police kind of hold Marjorie crazy ass back as they ride through. So the driver then drops Cam off like in front of like this big ass bunker that's kind of like in the ground when that's not in the ground. And I always thought the houses like that was kind of fly, you know what I'm saying? Like they're half in the ground, but they're not in the ground all the way and shit. Like those houses be dope. They like bunkers and shit. And then you can see like the giant football field over there as he's walking down towards the house and shit. So Cam, he walks up to the door and he sees like these whole ass load of Amazon packages. So he's like, shit, well, I guess since I'm staying here, I might as well grab the packages and bring them in for him. So he goes, he picks up the packages and he walks into the door. But he walks into their house and he's kind of marveling at everything he sees. He sees like pictures of them that are like fucking huge that are hanging on the wall. And then he sees like this board that has like chains kind of like coming all out of its face and shit. And he hears music playing and he hears hammering as well. He's like, hello? And he starts kind of walking towards the music and the hammering. And he's just in awe at how like the paintings look, the statues and shit. And then he sees the trophy case. He sees the 8, I'm just gonna call it Super Bowl. He sees the 8 Super Bowl rings and he sees like the one trophy sitting up, spinning around and shit. And he just stops and just stares at it, you know what I'm saying? And like, he's mesmerized by it. So then he finally walks in and he sees Isaiah and Isaiah's hammering. And then Isaiah looks up at him and he's like, Cameron Cade, welcome, brother. And he turns the music off and he walks over to him and he daps him up. And he's like, that game against State, you got an arm like a cannon. And he was like, you seen that? He's like, yeah, of course. He's like, oh man, thanks. That means a lot coming from you. And it's like, it's crazy because of course that's his hero, you know what I'm saying like, yo, I seen you do that, man. You did your thing. So getting kudos from a hero means a lot to anybody. So anyway, Isaiah's like, welcome home. He's like, sorry about the mess. And Cam's kind of looking at the animals because he's doing taxidermy. And he's like, so you killed that yourself? Isaiah smiles and then wipes his hands off. And he asks him, do you know why quarterbacks exist? And Cam's like, to win games? And he's like, no. Native American boys, and I'm just gonna paraphrase, Native American kids at a school had to play these big ass white boys from Yale. The Indian kids, they were outsized. However, the Indian kids outsmarted the Yale kids by making up all these trick plays like the forward pass. The kids from Yale, they didn't like that shit. They wanted the game to be brutal to fit their style of play. And the game got so brutal that kids were dying on the field, and that the president had to come in and make the forward pass legal. And the little Carlisle Indian boys went on ahead and perfected the spiral. They went ahead to perfect the spiral. And he says, now they're mascots. So basically what I'm saying to you, Cameron, is don't be no mascot. And Cam's like, yes, sir. He's like, no, don't sir me. Call me Zay. So then Isaiah's like, cell phone, which he takes Cam's cell phone. So this is a no cell phone fucking facility, you know what I'm saying? Which I personally, I respect that, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to get away from your devices. They can become mind numbing and mind controlling, and you can't really pay attention to what you have to pay attention to. And he's like, here, it's radical detachment. No phone calls, no sliding in the DMs, no Pornhub, no OnlyFans, no Grindr, just football. He's like, I want you to think of this like a mini boot camp. You're preparing to show out for the owners of this team. Then like one of his nails hit the ground from one of his taxidermies, or one of his leather hides that he's, you know what I'm saying, he does like leather hiding shit. Anyway, one of the nails falls down. He's like, oh shit. And he's like, oh, come over here, Cam. Help me out with this. So he's like, here, I want you to hold this and hammer this down. And he says, one thing I want you to remember is to have fun. So then motherfucking Gucci Mane, fucking Lemonade start playing. I was like, yeah, that's my shit right there, man. Gucci. Cause hell's no sixes, no 20s on my better. That's cause it's more than knocking. Because it is a lemon. I was like, yeah, that's my shit right there. But yo, day one is labeled as fun. So then it transitions to the indoor stadium, and they go out to the field, and Cam is like throwing passes and shit. You know what I'm saying? They kind of like getting a workup of what Cam can do. He's trying to hit like different targets and shit like that. And the whole time my jam playing, I'm like, it's a lemon. Oh, like, yo, that's my shit right here. Anyway, my bad, yo. Like, that's my track right there. That's my jam. Anyway, Isaiah, the whole time, he's kind of like coaching him. He's like, yo, that's too much arm right there. Use that whip. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's good timing. He's like trying to like help him hone in on his craft. Like all good quarterback coaches. And they just working out and stuff. They like throwing the weighted ball around. He's like, oh man, let's get some more weights on there. They just having a good like workout session. You know what I'm saying? Throughout these entire workout montages, you can tell on Isaiah's face that he doesn't really want the kid to succeed, but he's trying to be friendly as well. Because yo, that's somebody that's going to take his job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want that person to be good, but you don't want him to be, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to be too bad neither. So Cam is like throwing the ball and he's fucking up. He starts to get frustrated with himself. He's like, fuck. He's like throwing high balls. He's missing all the hoops and shit. He was hitting them earlier, but using the new tips, it's kind of like throwing his whole game off. And that's the one thing, again, about playing football, is that learning how to do something right, it kind of shakes you out of what you know how to do and how you know how to do it. And you have to kind of adjust. You have to kind of take what they're teaching you as well as what you know. That's like, again, like with Lamar Jackson. Nobody was throwing the ball from all them different arm angles like he does it. Or even Patrick Mahomes. They throw the ball from like sidearm. They throw it like different ways. Everybody else, it's traditional drop back. You know, you drop back 1, 2, 3, and then you throw the ball. Like, but they weren't throwing it from sidearm. They weren't throwing it like 3/4. Like, not everybody was doing it. That's how they do. And that's not how they want you to do it if you go to a quarterback coach. They want you like to throw it a certain kind of way, like not to get too technical. And him learning how to do it the right way is what's messing him up. Isaiah talks to him again, and he starts to hit the targets and stuff again. He starts to like find his stride again. So then after they finish working out, he's getting stretched, and he finishes stretching with the trainer, and he reaches his hand out for the trainer to help him up, and the trainer smacks his hand and turns around and walks away. Oh, like, damn, what he did to the trainer, bro. Like, the trainer must be a diehard Isaiah fan and shit. Like, bro, we don't want your ass here, boy. So then he gets up and they walk over to the doctor, and Isaiah introduces him to the doctor. He's like, is there anything else that we should know about? And he's like, nah, not that I know of. So the doctor grabs his arm and like cracks it, like, and like loosens his arm up and shit. He's like, oh shit, that feels good. He goes to shake the doctor's hand, and the doctor's like, blunt force trauma with a skull fracture. And he goes to like check out his head and shit. And he's like, all right, man, drop your drawers. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, man, it's time for a physical. Let's do it. He's like, what, you nervous? You got a baby dick? He's like, hey, yo, Marco, what you got for a baby dick? He's like, nothing. Couldn't fix mine. I was like, yo, what? Yo, like, oh my God. Yo, that fucked me up. All right. So then they start measuring him, and they're like 6'5", 210. And then like they measure his wingspan and stuff. And bro, they stripped all the way down to his underwear. I mean, like all the way booty butt naked anyway. So while they're measuring him, Isaiah's kind of like holding the football, walking around. And he's like, so how's your mom doing? How's your family? And he's like, oh, my mom's good. My dad worshipped you growing up. And he's like, really? He's like, yeah. He used to make me watch that clip of that injury you took all the time. Wanted to show me what a real man looked like. He's like, huh, that sounds similar to mine. He's like, well, mine was worse. That's why I'm so good at my damn job. So Cam asks him, how did you get back on the field? He's like, shit, you wouldn't imagine what I had to do. I had to damn near kill myself. Rehab it. And Isaiah goes on this monologue. He's like, shit, as a black quarterback, I had to be great to be considered good. Imagine what I had to do to be considered the greatest of all time. You know, when you love something, it's easy to make sacrifices for it. So he asks Cam, so what gets you on the field? And Cam's like, definitely my family. They sacrificed a lot for me to be here. Isaiah's like, all right, bet. I want you to remember that when you can't push no further. And Isaiah kind of like steps up to him, and he's like, that's only going to take you so far. We do what we do and make the money we make so that we can take care of our family. But if you want to transcend the game, you're going to have to find something more than external motivation. You're going to have to dig deep for it. And the doctor walks up and he's like, also, put some clothes on. I thought you were only going to get down to your underwear. This is very awkward for me. And Isaiah's like, yeah, it's weird, bro. Nobody told you to get ass naked. And the doctor and Zay, they walk away. And Cam's like looking around. He's like, yo, does anybody got eyes on my drawers? So then it transitions to Isaiah's girl. And she's walking through the house and she's like trying to sell something to her followers online. And she's like, pop this jade egg into your pussy to maximize your orgasm. I was like, what? Hold up. Time out. Let's stop that right here. Okay? I curse a lot, but this is a family-friendly show. Okay? We will not be doing that here. As she's saying this, Cam walks out and she's like, oh my gosh, Cam, it's so nice to meet you. He's like, oh, it's great to meet you as well, Mrs. White. She's like, no, call me Elsie. And she's like, well, take it easy on him because, you know, he's big R word soon. So try not to push him too hard, okay? And he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And she holds out another giant crystal and she's like, we also make them for men. And he's like, huh? And she's like, put it in your butthole, Cam. I was like, yo, no! What? Yo! Oh my God, no, that is not funny.
No, you cannot joke about that.
Yeah, that's not funny.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Anyway, she's like, I'll see you after my trip. And the little receptionist who was recording the video for her, she starts to flirt with Cam. She's like, yeah, I hope to see you after the trip. So Cam's sitting in an ice bath and one of Isaiah's butlers brings over a tray of fruit. And he's like, oh shit, all these fucking foreign ass fruits and shit. And he's like, it's lychee. It's very common. So then he looks over at Isaiah and he sees Isaiah. And what he's doing is drawing blood out of his body. And he's like, yeah, I like to save this blood for rainy days. You know, when my blood oxygen count is very high, it allows me to push my body further and have a higher endurance. I like to save this blood for rainy days. And Cam's like, yo, is that legal? And Isaiah's like, you want to hit it? And Cam's like, nah, I'm good. And Marco, he's like, Father Time is undefeated, but with a lot of money and modern medicine, we can slow him down. So Marco disconnects Isaiah from the blood pack, and Isaiah walks over to Cam and he's like, look, you done fucked around and found out. Marco, give him a rubber ducky for his ice bath or something. I'm gonna go watch some film. So then after Isaiah leaves, Marco, he's like, in ancient Rome, gladiators swore an oath to their trainers to endure being burnt, beaten, and killed with the sword. He's like, it's funny because American football is just the newest iteration of it, which a lot of football players like Ray Lewis, I'm just gonna drop some Ravens, Terrell Suggs, you know what I'm saying? They call themselves gladiators, and that's what they kind of believe themselves to be, gladiators, because it's a sport for entertainment. It's brutality for entertainment. While he's saying this to Cam though, he walks over and he just injects Cam with the needle in his arm. Cam like, hold up, whoa, what the fuck you doing? So he injects Cam with the needle and then he just walks off and he's like, shit, many religions would consider his blood to be holy. And Cam's just kind of sitting there staring at the damn ice bath water. While Cam is sitting there, the room just suddenly goes dark and he just tries to relax. He takes a deep breath and he looks around and shit, doesn't see anybody around. So he just kind of just sits in the ice bath and then he dives under. Then Cam is woken up by the dude who was stretching him. He threw like a bucket of water on his ass. He like, wake up, boy. Ain't no time for that shit. And then it transitions and it's like, yo, Cam is outside jogging through the desert with Isaiah and shit. While they're jogging through the desert, Isaiah looks over at Cam and he smirks. And then he picks up the pace a little bit. He like, come on, let's get it, baby. Let's get it. And Cam looks at him. He's like, yo, what the fuck? And Cam like, yo, I can't go no more. And he like stops and he puts his hands on his knees and shit. He done dropped the football and everything. He's like done. And he's so exhausted, he starts throwing up. He's laying out in the desert and he's like hyperventilating. He's to the point where he's about to have like a heat stroke and shit. And we see a fucking mascot with a hammer walking over towards him. And the mascot kind of stands over him and then swings and busts him in his head. But that was really an illusion. Really, Isaiah is standing near him and he's saying, no guts, no glory. Then Isaiah kind of kneels down beside him. He's like, you okay? Just take it easy. Just go ahead, breathe in and out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's like, here, you cramping, drink this. And he hands him like probably some pickle juice or some shit like that. And he's like, don't worry, help is on the way. So then it transitions back into the gym and Isaiah is explaining that recovery is one of the most important things of all. We put our bodies through this and, you know, in order to go faster, you got to recover longer. So recovery is important. So then he asks him, would you rather run a 1-4-10 or a 4-4-40? And Cam's like, I'd rather run a 1-4-10 versus what's important. 4-4-40 is just style points. And he's like, so would you rather have the ability to never get tired or never get injured? And Cam's like, shit, I'd rather have the ability to never get injured. Think about how many almost greats we lost to injury, which is facts. You know what I'm saying? It's been a lot of great football players who couldn't like really live up to their potential because they got injured, i.e. Todd Gurley. Like Todd Gurley would have been a beast if he never had 2 fucking knee injuries. Like those knee injuries, I don't care what nobody say, they derailed Todd Gurley's career. And there's been a lot of football players like that who get injured and just are done. And Isaiah's like, okay, well, what if you can avoid getting injured? And like this gang of dudes just walk in and Cam's like, yo, who are they? And Isaiah's like, who, them? Oh man, they just a bunch of practice squad people, you know what I'm saying? Trying to make a name for themselves, trying to impress an old vet, you know what I'm saying? We just gonna sit here, we gonna play a little catch. Matter of fact, we gonna play, man, you tired and shit. You can go ahead and sit this one out. You recovering, you know? And he does this little, yeah, we'll see you later. So then Marco walks up to Cam and he's like, see, I told you you'd thank me later. And he shoots him with another needle. And like the shit gets his heart kind of pumping and shit. And he's like, see, it's gonna be a long week, mate. And he walks off and Cam's kind of just sitting there. And then whatever he shot him up with kicks in. So then Cam's goes over and he's like closing his eyes and shit. And then when he opens his eyes up, he has to turn around and throw the ball. So then everything's going well. But then Isaiah's like, all right, let's switch it up a little bit. I'm going to need a little volunteer. And the white boy with the curly hair, I don't know his name, but he's like, yo, Mr. White, I got it. And he's like, that's what I like to see, a volunteer. So then he goes and he stands over by the jugs machine, which the jugs machine, let me kind of explain it to the people who don't know football. A jugs machine is a tool that wide receivers use. It throws the footballs at fast, high rates of speed. You know what I'm saying? It throws footballs. And it's so wide receivers can work on their hands. You know what I'm saying? They can work on their hand placement as well as catching the ball in different like moves and shit. It's like an automatic arm throwing the football. So he goes and stands in front of that. So he's like, you're never going to have to worry about your blind side ever again. Go ahead, close your eyes. And Cam closes his eyes and then he's like, say hut. He hands on the football and Cam turns around. He has to throw the ball on the money, which he does it right the first time. Cam does it right the second time. Second time is a little low, but he still hits it. However, the third time, Cam is a little slow and he misses the wide receiver. As Cam misses the wide receiver, Isaiah's like, too slow. And one of the trainers load a football into the jugs machine and it shoots right out and hits the white boy in his face. And Cam's like, yo, what the fuck? Hold up, wait. And Isaiah's like, say what? And is already tossing Cam another football. And Cam drops the football. And he's like, ooh, see, you think this is a game. Hey, Malik, he thinks this shit is a game. Malik, who's the trainer who's loading the footballs up inside of the jugs machine, loads another one up and shoots old dude in the face again with another football, like slowly increasing the fucking speed. And Cam's like, hold on, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Yo, I'm confused. What the fuck is going on? We find out that the dude who's getting hit in the face with the footballs name is Sid. And he's like, and Isaiah's like, see, man, look what you're doing. You see, look, Sid's counting on you. You letting Sid down. I don't think he's gonna be able to last too many more of these. So Cam freaked the fuck out. He somehow regains his composure. And Isaiah's like, ready, set, hut, and hands Cam another football. Cam turns, he throws the football, completion. And Cam's like, come on, tighten up, let's focus, come on. And Isaiah's like, 3 completions and we out. So Cam, he turns around, he throws another football. The wide receiver drops the ball. And Isaiah, he's over there, he's like, damn, crank that bitch. Hey, crank that bitch. And the fucking dude, he starts turning up the fucking speed on the fucking thing a little bit more and shoots Sid in the head with another football. And Cam's like, man, fuck, my man's is dying over here. Give me some fucking receivers that can catch. I got Cousins and Pop Warner who can catch better than that. So then as they're going through it, Cam is like yelling at him. He's like, yo, catch the ball, get your head in the game. And Isaiah, he's just laughing about the shit every time it happens. And you can see that Sid ended up losing a fucking tooth and shit, and blood's like flying off from his face and shit because they keep cranking up the intensity. And then Cam gets to arguing with one of the receivers, and the receiver's like, yo, you a bitch. Your daddy's a bitch. And Cam's like, man, fuck that. Catch the fucking ball. How about you do your fucking job? And Isaiah's laughing. He's like, oh man, you're gonna be such a great leader. So I get what they were trying to do in this part. Like, and again, this is like quarterbacking 101. Like, I swear to God, when I have a child, he's gonna be a fucking quarterback. His receivers is dying out here. He's dying out here. Catch the ball. They're basically trying to teach him leadership. They're teaching him to make people be accountable for what they do. That's why the receiver over there, every time somebody fucks up, he's the one who's being hurt because he's the one who's being held accountable. So they're trying to teach him how to be accountable for the actions that his teammates do and the actions that he does. Again, that's quarterbacking 101. If somebody fails, if the team loses, who do they blame? They blame the quarterback. They always blame the leader. You know what I'm saying? The Lakers lose, who you blame? LeBron. The Ravens lose, they blame Lamar. If Lamar's out there playing, he plays a shit game, receivers drop the ball, like we had in the playoffs and shit, like Mark Andrews, like Zay Flowers. When they dropped the ball, Lamar got blamed. That's all the media talked about. Oh, Lamar Jackson. Same thing with every other quarterback in the league. They will blame it on the quarterback. And that's what they were kind of teaching right here. So not a lot of people wouldn't have understood that, but if you know football, you get that. And that's what Isaiah says to him. He says, hey, all that talk on the field is not necessary. all talking like that, cursing out your team, that ain't necessary. All of the blame falls squarely on your shoulders. All the victories, all the defeats. So get your shit together. And then he boops him on the nose and shit. And I was like, oh shit, that's real, man. Oh, fuck. Okay. All right. So then he goes back into it and they do it one more time and he completes the pass. So then Isaiah starts clapping and shit. And Cam like looks at him. Then he looks over at Sid and he runs over to Sid and he's like, yo, Sid, are you okay? Are you okay? Just stay down, man. And Sid, he gets up and he starts laughing. He's like, oh man, did we get you? And Cam's like, huh? What the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, man, you got me. Yeah. All nervous and shit. Cause he's like, yo, you was literally just taking balls to the face, pause, and now you up laughing and shit. So Sid is like, oh man, it was an honor to do this for you, Mr. White. And Zay's like, yeah, thank you so much. And then Sid starts to laugh and Zay's like, what the fuck you laughing at? He's like, sorry. He's like, all right, guys, lunchtime. Good job. Good job. And Cam is like looking around like, yo, what the fuck just happened? Like, what the hell? Cam's head starts to bleed again. And he's like, yo, what the fuck? Then it transitions to him inside of his room and the doctor's in there and the doctor's kind of like patching him up. He's like, oh man, that's nothing. In one game, Zay got hit and he had fracturing behind his face and it caused him to bleed out of his tear duct. And he's like, it turns out that human skulls are not designed to smash into each other. And he's like, yo, after I staple your head together, I'm gonna need you to go sit in the hyperbaric chamber for a couple of hours. It's medicine for the brain. So then it transitions over to the hyperbaric chamber and we see Cam and Isaiah talking to each other outside of the hyperbaric chamber. And he's like, yo, you think what's her name's gonna be okay? And he's like, damn, if you refer to him as what's her name, do you really give a fuck? And Cam walks inside and Zay's like, do you know the saying, God, family, football? For me, it's football, family, God. And he's like, try to relax, all right? And he walks away, leaving him in the hyperbaric chamber by himself. So while he's in the hyperbaric chamber, the pressure starts to increase and it gets around 50 PSI. His head starts to hurt. And as he's in there, you can hear like the different voicemails from the voiceover. It's a voiceover of his voicemails. And it's the first one's from his mom. And she's like, hey, I'm just checking in on you just to make sure you're okay. The doctor said for you not to be doing too much. So don't be doing too many strenuous activities. And I hope you're doing well. Just give me a call back. And it shows like different kind of like montages that are like more like in his head of him like banging his head on the wall. And then like somebody sitting across from him with like a leather football mask on and shit. And then he bangs his head on the wall. Then it goes to him getting out of the bed again. Then it jumps to day 3 and it's day 3 is leadership. And what it is Cam is doing avoidance drills. So the people are kind of running at him and they're kind of like swiping at him and bumping him and stuff like that. And he's like, yo, what the hell? I thought we was blowing light today. And they like, nah, kid, this is the big leagues. So they start running at him again and shit. And they like clip him and knock him down on his ass and he hit the back of his head on the ground and shit. And the fucking linebacker dude standing over him yelling like, oh, motherfucker, what? And Cam gets up and he's like spitting out blood. And it kind of shows that the crack on his head, the damage on his head, it kind of like spread a little bit and shit. And this whole time Isaiah's talking shit. He's like, look at you, your scouting report said that you was a bitch. You ain't nothing but a little emotional pretty boy. You ain't built for this. And you just chasing validation from strangers because your father didn't love you. And then Isaiah grabs him and he's like, this ain't a fucking game, this is everything. And he's like, you're not your father. Does Cameron Cade want this? And he's like, yes. Then what are you willing to sacrifice? And he yells, everything. And he grabs his face mask and he's like, then show me. And smacks him on the side of his helmet. And before he shows us, this is your daily reminder to go drink some fucking water. Let's get it. So then Cam, he gets right back to the avoidance drill. And he's like ducking the shit out of everybody and shit. And Isaiah's like, woo, woo, now you playing some fucking football, bitch. And then he sees number 47, the dude who knocked him on his ass last time, coming running towards him. And Cam, he goes up, he cocks back, and then he swings forward and busts the dude in his head. He like headbutts the shit out the guy. And the guy, he goes like flying back and falls to the ground and shit. Like straight up shock to the dude's system. Dead at, I know he took like 10 years off that dude's life, gave him a hell of a fucking concussion. And Cam starts taunting. He's like, dead body alert, dead body alert. Somebody come pick your bitch ass homeboy up, Zay. I don't start shit, I finish it. And while he's doing that, the dude is on the ground and he done went like straight up limp. His arm is like on his chest and fingers is all twisted up and shit. Like he dead ass took at least 10 years off this dude's life, like for real. And Zay walks over and he like crouches down over the dude and looks at him. And then he turns around and he looks at Cam, and Cam's kind of looking like, oh shit, I fucked this shit up. And Cam, once he realizes what he's done, he's like, oh shit, I just got lost. And Zay stands up and he walks over to him and gives him a hug and is like, there he is, we're proud of you. Cam just like, kind of like looks at him and shit. Then Zay just starts fucking chanting. He starts doing a chant. He's like, all the Savior say, amen. All the Savior say, amen. I'm like, yo, he's standing over his homeboy body like fucking taunting and cheering and shit. Like, what the fuck? So then it transitions to later on that night, and Cam, he's walking down the hallway and he hears like a noise at a door. So he walks over to the door and he puts his ear to it. And then he's startled by like a football rolling down the hallway. He's like, yo, what the fuck? And he looks at it for a minute and then he walks away from the door and he hears like a whirling sound. So he walks over to that. And the whirling sound sounds like I don't know if you ever took a camera, like a picture with a Polaroid, but it sounded like that little woo shit, you know what I'm saying? And he looks into another room and it's like all these reporters are there taking pictures of him. And then somebody walks up behind him and puts a bag over his head and tries to smother him. And while they're trying to smother him, two sportscasters walk up and are laughing with microphones like in his face and shit. He tears the bag off of his head and everything's gone. And he's like, yo, what the fuck just happened? And again, this was something else that was happening in his head. So then Cam, he goes off into another room and he calls home. And his brother, he's like, yo, what's going on? Why is it so loud there? I can barely hear you. He's like, oh man, we all at the house. It's mom's birthday. We having a party. Don't tell me you forgot mom's birthday. He like, oh yeah, shit, that's right. And he's like, yo, what's going on? What you mean you're not doing well? And he's like, I don't know, man. I just keep seeing things. And it's like, it's stuff that's not even there. He's like, and his brother's like, yo, I got you. You just need to relax, rub your temples, and yell as loud as you can. That'll help release one of your nerves, and that'll help you feel better. And he's like, bro, I'm not trying to hear that shit right now. He's like, man, I'm trying to help you, you know what I'm saying? And his mom comes over and he's like, hey, give me the phone, let me talk to him. And his mom grabs the phone. She's like, my baby. He's like, hey mom, how are you? Happy birthday. And she's like, why haven't you been answering the phone? And he's like, oh, well, I'm not really supposed to have my phone here while we're doing this. And while Cam is on the phone, it shows what's going on outside because he's like near a window, and it shows a cloaked figure kind of standing outside in the rain watching him as he talks on the phone. Then as he's still talking on the phone, we see a figure appear behind him, and it's fucking Marco scaring the shit out of him. He's like, hey! And Cam's like, oh shit, and he hangs the phone up and shit. He's like, oh, my bad, man, it's my mom's birthday. And Marco, he's drunk as fuck. He don't really give a shit. So Cam like, yo, you have anything for headaches? And he sits down on like this little bench shit. And Marco, he kind of walks over, he's shaking a bag, and he walks over to him. And he sits down, he's like, man, never kill yourself for a job. I feel like I'm killing myself for this job. And while he's saying that, Marco takes pills out the bag and like starts eating the fucking pills. He's like, man, I never get to see my family. I never get to see my kids. And Cam's like, damn, you got kids? How many you got? He's like, well, if I had kids, I would never see them. Cam's like, shit. And he's like, you know, it's a shame that you're so talented and how well I've prepared you. And Cam's like, huh? Prepared me for what? And Marco reaches into the bag and gives Cam 2 of the pills and doesn't say a word and gets up and walks away. And as he walks away, he says, when 2 men enter a coliseum, only one of them leaves. Then it transitions to back outside, and we see the crazy ass chick from earlier who spit on the car is standing there with her nose all snotty and crying and shit. with two dudes with like football masks on their head, and she's just staring in the window at Cam. Then it transitions to Cam and Isaiah in the steam room, and Cam asks Isaiah, yo, what's it like being a GOAT? And Isaiah's like, I used to think it was a blessing, but now I feel like, what's the use of having it if one day you have to give it all up? And he explains to him that he has this reoccurring dream that of him sitting on a couch, a dirty ass couch, as he says, and he's watching TV and he's watching somebody else do something that he was so damn good at. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss the camaraderie. I'm gonna miss the smell of the locker rooms. I'm just gonna miss it all. And Cam laughs about it. He's like, the locker rooms, man, fuck that. I ain't gonna miss the smell of the locker rooms. He's like, nah, it smells like brotherhood, bro. And he's like, nah, man, I'm gonna miss running through the tunnel, the darkness of the tunnel into the light of the field. I'm gonna miss the cheers. I'm gonna miss the haters' boos. Man, shout out to the haters too. They still thumbing us down, baby, but we still good. But he's like, I've had a lot of losses in my life. A lot of people who come in and walk out of my life. The only thing that's been consistent has been football. I never had much of a family until I had football. So that's all that I know. And Cam's like, I know what you mean, but I can't wait to have 3 little kids running around, 3 little dickheads. And Isaiah makes the joke, you're gonna have 3 little Africans running around. And Cam's like, damn, bro, you've been ripping me since I got here. And Isaiah's like, yo, on a real note, you're a good dude, Cam. And he's like, do me a favor, find your own way to greatness. Don't be me, be better. And Cam's like, yo, what do you mean? And Isaiah asks him, you're starving to death in a prison. Somebody comes to you and they say, freedom or food? Do you really have a choice? Then he gets up and he walks out and he says, I'm gonna go watch some tape. And he leaves Cam there to kind of think about that. Now, Cam is like laying down and stuff, and he's kind of just thinking about what was said to him. And as he's laying there, he got his eyes closed and shit. And then suddenly, old girl fucking climbs out from under the fucking bench and shit. And then we see like the 2 dudes who she was standing outside with, they standing inside the house in like cowboy boots, naked with like they little football masks and shit on. And what she do is she go over there and she pick up a big ass rock and she ready to bust Cam in the head with the fucking rock and shit. As she's about to do that, the 2 dudes with the football masks on, they scurry away and shit. They running away like mice and shit. And then she goes and she stands directly over Cam with the rock, like right above his head, ready to bash his skull in. And just as she's about to bash his head in, she starts screaming out loud. And Cam like opens his eyes and he like grabs her and dodges her and shit. And then he like grabs her by her neck and he starts choking her. And he like ends up fucking choking her out and shit. And she ends up fucking fainting from him choking her. Like, I thought that he fucking killed her ass, but he didn't kill her, luckily. He eased up just before he was about to fucking kill her ass. And he's kind of like standing there, he's watching her and he's like, oh shit, did I kill her ass? And then as he turns around, he sees Zay standing there and she opens her eyes up and tries to attack him with a rock again. And Zay reaches out and grabs her by the neck and she's like, oh, fuck me. And Zay pulls her in and he kisses her. And then he fucking one hand throws her ass up against the fucking wall and she hits the back of her head on the fucking wall of the sauna and shit. And she falls down dead. Then the 2 fucking people with the football masks run up in there and shit. They like, oh no, mommy, oh no, look what you did, oh no. And Zay, he starts fucking laughing. He's like, oh shit, look at that shit right there, bro. That shit is wild, boy. And Cam is like kind of standing there. He's like freaking the fuck out. He's like, yo, what the fuck? And Cam is like pacing back and forth. And Zay is like, when you're a god, there is no peace. And he's like, do you see that shit? The fucking dedication? She wanted to win. That's how you fucking win. Then he says, he died for us, so I play for him. You can go. I'm just gonna stay here and clean up this mess. I owe it to the fans. Cam's like just looking at him like, yo, what the fuck? Then it transitions over to Isaiah's wife. And she's like, you're not thinking about leaving us, are you? And Cam, he's sitting there, he got his coat on, he got his sweatpants stuff on, he ready to go, he got his bag packed up. Bro was like, fuck this shit, I'm out. And she's like, it just gets a little crazy around here sometimes, don't worry. He's not pushing you too hard, is he? I think he's starting to get a little jealous. But you didn't hear that from me. And then she's like, come on, we're about to go to the pool, you can come with us to the pool. You can say your goodbyes to myself and the girls, come on. And Cam kind of looks down at his bag. Then he looks up and another girl walks over and she's like, are you sure you don't want to come? And he kind of looks at her walk away. But Cam, he decides to join the ladies in the little room. And you can see the girls, they're like dancing and stuff, all seductive and stuff like that. And in the background, you can see the doctor in there mopping up the blood and shit. Meanwhile, this is happening. Another voiceover is happening from his mom, from his voicemail. And she's like, hey, I hope you're doing well. Hopefully you're not pushing yourself too well. Remember to eat and stay hydrated. Oh, in my church group, we're taking bets. Everybody's taking bets about where you'll get drafted. I know you'll do a great job, honey. Try to have a fun and stay safe. So then the next day comes and Cam is waking up and Zay's sitting in the corner as he's waking up. And he's like, yo, did you fuck her? And Cam's like, huh? He's like, did you fuck her? And he cocks his gun. And Cam's like, kind of just sitting there. He's like, look at you, getting nauseous about the idea of cheating on your little college girl. And Cam's like, we met in high school. He was like, oh, that little puppy love shit. They be sucking on my dick like, he spit on the gun and like act like he was like, oh my God. Like, yo, pause. Like, pause. All right. Marlon Wayans is off the chain because I know he improv that shit. I know he improv. He's like, man, I can't believe you fell for that shit. My bad, bro. Sometimes I can be a little intense. So then he's like, I'm gonna tell this to you with complete sincerity because I fucking love you. And he walks over, he sits next to him and put the gun to his head. He's like, if you too afraid to hurt your girl's feelings, then how can you be the face of this franchise? And he like shoves his head with the gun and shit. And he's like, cause real killers don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about we don't give a fuck about whose feelings we hurt. And I felt that shit. I was like, we don't give a fuck about none of that shit. We don't give a fuck about none of it. So he's like, man, you know what? Fuck all this football shit for now. Let's just kick it like bros. You feel me? And then it says like day 4, which I think there's more days in between here. But if it's only been 4 days, it's been a long ass 4 days. So they go outside and they just like shooting at targets and shit. They shooting at like different helmets and stuff like that. And Isaiah's like, huh, you seem off today. You okay? And Cam's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just thinking about the lady I almost killed last night. Weird bitch. He says it like with a little, like he ain't like really laughing about shit, but he is. But he not. And Isaiah's like, what lady? And Cam's like, you know, the lady. And Isaiah's like, I don't know what lady you talking about, bro. And Cam just stops and stares at him. Then he stares down and he's like, yo, was that shit in my head too? Then the doctor and somebody else brings a mascot or like a person in a mascot uniform and drags him and sits him up. And he's like, yo, we ain't got no more to shoot. And he's like, no. So then Isaiah sits down next to Cam and he's like, oh yeah, that lady. He's like, your turn, and hands him a gun. So Cam stands up and he goes to take a shot. And as he takes the shot, Isaiah yells out, causing him to miss the shot. So Cam reloads and he goes to take another shot. And Isaiah's like, hold up, let's wager this. How about if you hit the target, I give your broke ass whatever you want. Cars, house, lifestyle. But if you miss, I get to have your youth. And Cam's like, nah, I like to earn my own shit. How about we do this? If I miss, I might let you keep QB1 next year. And Cam aims and he shoots and he hits the target. So then it jumps back over to Cam and he's inside and he's giving himself a shot of the shit that the doctor be giving him. Which at this point, I'm thinking it's fucking steroids or something. It's gotta be something like that. Cause bro then lays down and he starts fucking hitting the bench press harder than anybody hit it before and shit. He out here yelling, he out here getting it. You know what I'm saying? He getting it harder than Killian was. Like, I wouldn't say harder than Killian because we know, especially if you watch that Magazine Dreams video, Killian was hitting that bitch hard. After Cam finishes working out, he goes and he gets into an isolation pod. And in the isolation pod, he can like hear, or I guess he's kind of like replaying it in his head, all the different things the sportscasters are saying about him. Like, oh, he's damaged goods. Is he worth a top 5 pick? Like he's like reliving all that. Then it jumps to day 5, which is Vision. Day 5 starts off with Vision and he's doing like media training and shit like that. So they're kind of like setting up different sets and interviewing him. And he stood between Isaiah and his girl, and this one lady who was interviewing him, they're like, damn, is he like y'all kid or something? Like, he looked like he could be y'all kid. And they laugh about it and shit, but Zay wasn't feeling that shit at all, because that's like she calling him old and shit. So then they're like taking pictures of Cam and shit like that. And while they're doing this like whole montage, Isaiah is telling a story about how fierce tribes used to send their children out into the jungle, but they would give them like blood of their fiercest warrior, so that the fiercest warrior's soul would carry on and shit inside of it, and they would come back with the blood of a king. So then it jumps over to Cam, and he's talking about like the workouts and all this other stuff. He's doing like an interview, and Cam is basically like telling the interviewer about how his youth, his dad had him eat, sleep football to make him the greatest. And he's like, all I ever wanted to do was be a kid. Then it goes back to Isaiah, who's doing the voiceover now. And he's like, now the boys aren't dragged into the woods. Now they're drafted. And the gods sit in the sky box watching. Then it goes back over to Cam, who's still being interviewed. And he's like, I remember the last conversation I had with my dad. He told me that he was proud of me. And I told him I was done with football. And Cam starts crying, and he's like, I let him down. And he keeps crying and saying that he let his father down. And we kind of find out a little bit about Cam's resolve. You know what I'm saying? We find out why he does this, why he's pushing so hard, why even though he has the head injury, he's still out here grinding and pushing himself so hard, because he feel like he let his father down by telling him he doesn't want to play football anymore. And then his dad died, because that was the last conversation that they had. And Isaiah is kind of like sitting back there. And that's another thing about football players, or any sport, or men in general. We're always competitive. Everybody's always kind of trying to compete with each other. You know what I'm saying? The only way not to fucking be in the game is to not play the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only way. Men are always trying to compete with each other. That's why, like, oh, this person gets a car, that person gets a car. Oh, how are you doing? Oh, we're doing this. Oh, well, we did this too. That's how men are. And a lot of guys know this. We're always trying to compete. You go into the gym, like I go to the gym with my brother, or when I was going to the gym with my brother before I had surgeries. He would do 5, I would do 10. He would come back and do 15. I would do 18, and he would do 19. Like, that's how you do. You always kind of like pushing yourself. And that's the thing about this. Isaiah is kind of seeing this, and he's like, yo, he's putting on a better interview than me. What the fuck? So he's sitting there, he's watching fucking Cam cry and shit, and he's like, he did a better interview than me. Hey, yo, Cam, he thought he was slick. He even stole Isaiah's line. Like, Cam says, I feel like he died for us, so I keep playing for him. I was like, yeah, he's fucking swagger jacket ass. He stole that whole flow. He stole his whole flow. And Zay, he like, damn, and he backed away and shit. Then it kind of shows everybody sitting around Cam, and it kind of looks like the Last Supper. I ain't even gonna lie. Like, I say, everybody kind of sitting around him, looking at him, and I was like, yo, what the hell? Then it transitions to him in the weight room, and he lifting weights, and Isaiah's wife comes in and sits down, and she's like, wow, I seen your speech. And she's like, I know how you feel about your father, but you don't have to kill yourself over him. Are you sure your heart's in this? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And she's like, okay, that settles that. Well, I think we should celebrate. There's a party tonight. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't supposed to tell you this, but a little birdie told me that they want to make you an offer. The same offer they made to him 20 years ago. Cam, he was hesitant at first, but after she said that, he like, shit, you could have just led with that. And he like goes over, he buttons his jacket up, and he goes to head out with her. And she's like, hey babe, are you coming? And he's like, no, I think I'm just gonna watch some tape. You kids have a good time though. So they pull up to this building that, you know what I'm saying, I don't know, it looked like a school or some shit. I was like, yo, the fuck kind of party they having here? And she basically explains that, well, once you get to a certain level of status, you like to party in inconspicuous places. And she kind of like explains to them as they're walking through that the bald guy is the owner, and the little fat kid, he's the owner's son. And to be nice, because, you know, good old nepotism, all this will be his one day. So, you know, you want to be cool. And he's like, oh, okay, I got it, I understand. And as they're walking in, she mentions something about rituals. And Cam's like, hold up, what did you mean by ritual? And she's like, you know, they're just old rich white guys. That's, you know, they like to have their. And as they walk through, like, they open the doors up and the music starts playing and shit. Once they walk in, Marco's like, oh, the prodigal son. And Cam's like, hey, Marco, what's going on? And Isaiah's wife, she walks off and shit. And he's like, yeah. And he says like this quote that Jesus said. And then he leans in to Cam and he's like, run. And Cam kind of stops and looks at him. He's like, what? And the wife, she reaches over and she grabs Cam and she's like, come on, let me show you the rest of everybody else. And the first person Cam sees is Tom, and he's like, oh shit, Tom, what are you doing here? And he runs over and he hugs Tom and shit. And he's like, hey Cam, man, I told you were gonna be okay. I told you everything's gonna be okay. And as he does that, Isaiah's wife turns around and looks at Marco, and Marco's like, well, you know. So then him and Tom, they end up talking to the owner and stuff. And he's like, Tom's trying to sell him. He's like, look at that smile, man. That smile is gonna be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Look at him, he's tough, he's tall, he's still trying to like sell him. So then he sits at the table with the owners and shit, and Tom's like, so I got a question. Are you ready to take the next step? And Cam looks around and he nods, and they all toast and shit. And he's like, yup, to you. So then after they toast and shit, Cam drinks and he starts to feel lightheaded. Then it transitions to Isaiah, and he kind of like snaps awake. And he immediately goes to the gym and he starts working out and shit. Cam, he starts to feel lightheaded and he's looking back and forth at the people and shit. And he like starts to go party and shit. Like, cause he lightheaded, he feeling drunk and shit. Why not? As he's drinking and shit, it shows like different scenes with Isaiah working out, Cam partying, and Isaiah's wife stabbing something. Cam, he's throwing money and stuff at the strippers and stuff like that, having a good time and shit. Isaiah, he's still pumping iron, and she's still over there like stabbing and shit. Then Cam starts to like hallucinate like he's in a room. Then he starts to be in that room, and in that room he sees something sitting on the table with a mask. Then it goes back to the party and we see the thing in the mask like kind of like dancing around the party and shit, and we see Isaiah's wife stabbing. He lifts the mask up off the table and it's Marco's head sitting on the table. Cam kind of just stands there stunned, like still kind of in a daze from being drugged, and he walks back from the table. As he does that, Isaiah's wife walks in and she's like, are you sure you're feeling okay? And Cam falls back and faints. She walks over to the table and places the dagger down on the table, and we see that it's Marco's head that's on the table. And this episode, and it's called And Day 6 Sacrifice appears on the screen. Then it jumps to Cam and he's laying on a table with a needle in his arm with blood being pumped into him. And we find out it's Isaiah's blood. So let me kind of explain a little bit. If you kind of been listening and paying attention to the stories that Isaiah has been telling, he basically told you what happened. Now let me kind of just recap for the people in the back. He said that tribes used to drag kids off into the woods and give them the blood of a great leader, and whoever made it out became the new king. He said instead of them dragging them out now, they're drafted, and the gods sit in the skybox. What they did was performed a ritual of passage, a passing of the torch. That's why they put his blood in him. They put Isaiah's blood in him, and they put somebody else's blood in Isaiah. That's why Isaiah was like being cryptic, like with the stories, like with the last story or the last question that he asked him. If you were dying in prison, if you were starving to death in prison, and they came to you and they said freedom or food, which one would you choose? The same way. Isaiah didn't want it to be like this, but he had no choice. It's all he had. Football was the only option that he had. So Cam wakes up just as the last little bit of blood drains into his arm. And he's like, yo, what the fuck? What is this shit? And he's able to kind of snatch the needle out of his arm, but he's so weak, he kind of rolls off the table. And he's crawling towards the doctor's cart where he sees a needle that has the drug the doctor was giving him, and it says run on it. He injects himself with that drug, and he's able to kind of get up and able to move again. He walks out and he sees the trophy, and he's like, okay, that's weapon enough. I need to find out what the fuck is going on around here. I'm getting drugged. I seen Marco's head. Like, I'm not gonna be able to make it out of here alive. So he's kind of walking through the house and he like scraping the trophy on the wall. He's like flexing his muscles in his back and stuff because the drugs got him feeling right. And he walks past the door and he sees Isaiah kind of lean back in the recliner watching tape, as he calls it. But really, he's just staring up at the ceiling, looking at like a crowd of fans who's like adoring him and shit like that. Isaiah's like, well, look who's up early. I'm just chilling out here watching some tape. Look at it. It's so powerful, isn't it? Cam kind of like looks up at it. Then he looks at him. He's like, fuck this shit, bro. You lost your shit. And he goes to hit him with the damn trophy. Isaiah reaches up and grabs his hand and takes the trophy from him. And Cam, he walks to the door like he about to leave and shit. And Isaiah's like, oh, I thought you was willing to sacrifice everything. And as he says that, the fucking door closes and shit. So basically, they put 2 gladiators inside of an arena and only one of them can leave. So Cam's like, so you've been giving me your blood on some weird white people shit. And Isaiah's like, see, I knew you wouldn't want to fuck with it. It's not just my blood. It's my mentor's blood and his mentor's blood before him. Just think of it as a gift from the gods. But his voice kind of distorts when he says gift from the gods. He's like, see, it's the good shit. Cam's like, yo, what the fuck does that even mean? He's like, you don't feel that shit? Like, you don't feel that fucking beast burning inside of you? You know, they say it's been around ever since the start of the league, and whoever has it is the chosen one, the GOAT. And Cam's kind of like pacing around the room, and he's like, so there can only be one. And Isaiah's like, you're exactly right. And he's like, see, I've been telling you this whole time, my contract is up at the end of this year, and you're about to be drafted. You could possibly replace me. And seeing as we both share his blood, it's a fair contest. So let's run it down. This has only been like based around the saviors, I'm guessing, because his mentor, of course, was on his team as well. He's replaced him. So let's do it like this. We have Drew Bledsoe. Let's say Drew Bledsoe was this super great quarterback. Like, I'm not trying to knock Drew Bledsoe. Shout out to Drew Bledsoe. Let's say Drew Bledsoe was this super great quarterback who won like fucking 6 rings and shit. You know what I'm saying? But he was getting up there in age. His contract was coming up. And on the horizon, we got a young superstar we got a young little college kid named Tom Brady about to come in here. In the off season, Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady, they go like on a retreat together and shit. And like, let's say Cam is Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe is Isaiah. That's basically what they're trying to do. They're trying to say like, oh, when one person comes in, they have to duke it out and the winner becomes the new star quarterback, or he gets to keep his job. That's kind of what they're going with this. I hope I kind of explained that right. Like, I used a lot of football terms, but it's like, yo, either you're going to perform or either you're going to kill this kid or he's going to fucking kill you and he's going to take your job. So Cam's like, so what's the play? And Isaiah's like, well, there's 2 men in here and only one man gets to walk down that tunnel. And if you want to be the GOAT, you're going to have to take that shit from me. Cam is like, you didn't earn that shit. You cheated. I worked so hard every day of my life for this shit. So then Isaiah starts to hype himself up. He's like, football, family, God. I am football. I am him. I was like, yeah, you're like on that shit. I'm like, oh. Yo, he was on that shit. So then Cam walks over and he punches him dead in his face. And yo, his like Isaiah's nose and shit is like bleeding, but he ate that shit. And he like, you ain't shit. So then these dudes, they start fighting and shit, you know what I'm saying? They in there tussling. And Isaiah is like beating the shit out of Cam. Like he's whooping this young dude ass, you know what I'm saying? Cam a rookie, so he beating his ass. And Isaiah like really in here like snapping that man arms and shit. Like straight up, he broke the non-throwing arm though, you know what I'm saying? He like grabbed that shit and like twisted it back. And then he went over and like picked up his trophy and shit. And he like, yo, I'm finna fucking stroke your ass with this fucking trophy. Cam gets up off the ground as Isaiah's circling him, and he walks over to the helmet and he asks, do you know what the opposite of a savior is? And Isaiah's like, a killer. And he comes in with the trophy ready to stab him. And he's like, wrong, and slaps him with the helmet. He's like, a mascot. And he goes fucking full Myles Garrett with the helmet and like starts whacking goddamn Isaiah over the head with the helmet and shit. Then he starts punching the shit out of him because the beast has fully been unleashed inside of him and shit. And he starts yelling and shit as he's punching him. So then he gets up and he kind of walks outside the tunnel, and it's like sparklers going off and shit, fireworks going off. It's fucking cheerleaders out there shaking pom-poms and shit. And he looks over at the table. He sees Isaiah's wife sitting at the table, and he sees like a bunch of people in like pig masks sitting at chairs and shit. And he's kind of like looking at him as he's coming out. He's like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? And I was like, yo, we finally get to see that outdoor fucking field. Because like I seen the outdoor field earlier and I had pointed it out, but now we get to finally see the fucking field. So then like while he's kind of like walking out, they're doing like this chanting version of the national anthem and shit. And when they finish, he's kind of like looking around and he sees like a pentagram on the ground, and he sees like a hammer, he sees a mascot head and all this other different stuff. And they finish like chanting, and the owner, he's like, now sign the contract to receive the gifts. And Cam's kind of like looking around and shit. He's like, yo, what the fuck? Isaiah's wife is kind of like sitting there with the pen, kind of like waving it, but she gets irritated because Cam is like looking around like, yo, what the fuck was all this for? And the owner is like, sign the contract. And the owner's like, yo, what the fuck, Tom? And he takes his mask off and shit. And Tom takes his helmet off, his mask off. He's like, oh, no worries, I got it. Hey, Cam, it's a blessing, right? Go ahead and sign the contract. You'll be taking care of your whole family. And we see what Cam is actually kind of like staring at, because Cam was staring off. He's staring at a plate that has a picture of his father, and his father is shaking hands with the owner. And Cam is looking at this and he's like, what the fuck? And he starts to laugh. Cam looks down and he picks up this battle hammer and he's like laughing. And then Tom's like, hey man, do you need some water or something? And Cam starts pointing the hammer at the people. And he's like, fuck you, fuck your dumbass eyebrows, and fuck your old white ass too. And Tom's like, hey, do you think you earned this? We've been grooming you since you were a child. We attacked you to isolate you so that we could draft you. And the owner's like, shut the fuck up, Tom. And as he's saying that, and Cam is kind of like staring forward, we see a guy with a goat mask kind of creeping up on Cam with a sword in his hand. And the owner's like, listen, boy, I'll kill your whole family. Now sign the contract. Cam closes his eyes and he has like a flashback, and he hears his father say, you see that, Cam? That's what real men do. They make sacrifices. And he like sees like flashbacks of him and his dad playing catch, his mom saying like, you'll always be my baby, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And his mom like leaving him a voicemail message saying, you'll always be my baby and I'm so proud of you, but you're your own man now and I'm proud of you regardless. And Cam opens his eyes up and he says, nah. And he ducks the swing of the sword and he hits the dude in the face with the hammer and shit. And the owners and shit and Isaiah's girl, they look all stunned and shit. While Cam's like bludgeoning this dude to death and shit, Isaiah's girl is like, get over here, do something. And Tom, he runs over, but he picks up the mascot's head and runs away. And she starts like spazzing out. She's like, I gotta do everything for you. You're all a bunch of little bitches. I gotta do everything in this league. And then she like grabs the knife and then she walks over and she trips and stabs herself with the knife, like on some Goofy movie type shit. She walks and stabs herself with the knife, ends up killing herself. And the owner's like, oh my God. She like stabs herself in the whole neck. And the owners are like, oh, come on, let's get out of here. He's crazy. Let's get up out of here. Cam like uses that arm strength and throws the sword and stabs it right through one of the dude's backs as they trying to leave. And Tom is like sitting there with his cell phone like, oh my God, I can't get a signal. Give me a fucking bar. And Cam straight up goes like straight up Conan the Barbarian and starts like hacking these dudes up. And then like he sees the owner kind of like standing near the goalpost. So he's like, oh, there we go. And he walks over to the goalpost and cuts the owner's head off. And he's like, watch your fucking mouth. I was like, yeah, watch your fucking mouth, man. Watch your mouth, boy. Then he walks over to Tom and Tom's like, oh, fine, fuck it, kill me. Just go ahead and kill me. Just go ahead and kill me, please. Just go ahead and kill me. But he doesn't kill Tom. Instead, what I'm calling the football gods, they drag his ass over to the fucking pentagram and lay his ass like sprawled out across the pentagram and shit. And Cam, he picks up the axe or hammer, whatever. He picks up the hammer and he walks away. And as he walks away, he bucks at one of the people who are standing there like playing the drums and shit. And he jumps back. And the whole time Tom is like begging for his life. He's like, oh man, I'll suck your dick. I'll do whatever, man. Like, please, just And Tom ends up getting like ripped apart and shit and fucking explodes everywhere. And boom, that's the end of the movie. Cam walks away. We don't know if he goes back to football, but he quit playing football. So let me give a little breakdown about what I think happened. This is my interpretation of the movie, not nobody else's. So Cam said that his dad died like a couple of months after he said he didn't want to play football anymore. So I'm thinking that because Cam's father had a deal with those people that his son would be the next GOAT, his son would be the next him, they killed Cam's father and isolated him to kind of force him to want to play football. And they kind of like drove his life towards that. So that's why he got upset and he killed them when it happened. You know what I'm saying? It's like all predated. And the football gods didn't like, you know what I'm saying, him not signing the contract and accepting the offer and shit. So they took out revenge on all the people that was there. Well, all the people that Cam didn't kill, which was Tom, of course. So was this movie a bad movie? No, it was not. It's one of them movies that you would have to know football and you would have to kind of know the lore around certain football aspects to kind of understand. You know what I'm saying? This was a pretty damn good movie. Like, I literally watched it a couple times, you know what I'm saying, before I did the explain on it. And yeah, I had no issues at all with this movie. I'm not sure why people were like bagging it. And it was like a lot of people like, you know what I'm saying, I ain't trying to be disrespectful, but like Joe Budden and shit, he talk about like, oh, I had to get up and leave out the movie theater. Like, come on, man. Like, be for real. In this world where it's so much, you know what I'm saying, like it's so many horror movies that are exactly the same. Like, how many fucking Conjuring movies is it? How many movies can you have with a ghost or some shit like that? You know what I'm saying? To have something like this, it was a breath of fresh air. Some things weren't necessarily executed properly. However, I feel like Justin Tipping did a good fucking job. Like, the acting was good. Marlon Wayans was funny when he had to be, and he was crazy when he had to be. Like, Cam was a good actor as well. Like, bro, like, I'm calling him Cam from now on. I don't even know the dude's real name. His name is fucking Cam from now on. If I see him outside, it's, yo, what's up, Cameron? How you doing, bro? That's what it's gonna be. But, yo, do I recommend you watch this movie? Absolutely. Check this movie out. It was a good movie. To everybody who didn't watch it because of other people's opinions about the movie, they don't know fucking ball, okay? They don't know fucking ball. That's why they had these opinions. I will never trust the opinion of someone else when it comes to a movie. I'll always want to see it with my own eye. And that's how I believe you should do it as well. So go check this movie out. It's a decent movie. It's a refreshing horror movie. Anyway, this is Star Explains, bro. Again, I got to leave out with something positive. Again, I have to thank each and every person for clicking on this video. You spent your time here with me, and I appreciate that. Time is one of the most valuable commodities that we have in this world, and you spent over an hour with me. So thank you so much. And be a friend to someone, say something nice to someone, brighten someone's day up, and have a great one. Please also like, comment, and subscribe. If you have a problem with anything I said, say it to me in the comments. Don't hide behind the thumbs down. Say it to me in the comments, baby. Especially my haters, man. I'm still trying to figure out who y'all is. But see y'all in the next one. Star Verossus, and I'm out.